This is the 2023 Cliburn International Junior Piano Competition and Festival. Welcome back to the webcast and welcome to this second concert of the preliminary round of this competition. I'm your host, Buddy Bray.
And I'm your co-host, Bridget Kibbe. We are broadcasting live from the Caruth Auditorium in Dallas, Texas.
Remember, you can see a list of all the competitors and the times they play, the dates they play, and their repertoire just by visiting us at cliburn.org.
And we would also encourage you to read about the competitors on the social media platforms of the Cliburn so you can get to know their repertoire, their personalities, what interests them outside the piano, and all about the festival.
And just a reminder, this broadcast is made possible in part by the Texas Ballet Theater, our friends at Texas Ballet Theater, and that is made possible by a grant from Ann T. and Robert M. Bass.
And you also can donate to thecliburn.org by visiting that website and joining us in supporting these incredible young talents.
Bridget, we've seen so much great piano playing already this afternoon. Six
incredible.
really wonderful artists.
It's really phenomenal what they've been able to do, and style and form and articulation. They've had technique to burn, but the expression has been so varied and wonderful.
You know what I've found particularly interesting, since I've seen so many competitions now,
Yes.
that technical ability is something we just take for granted by this point. But having to play a Bach Prelude and Fugue gives us such a window into the souls and the brains of these young people. I think there are so many choices to make in Bach.
That's a really good point. It's really wonderful how every competitor starts their entire competition with that Prelude and Fugue, like you said. A lot of them have an amazing architectural sense of the fugue. Many of them have a beautiful sense of line, and always unique personalities to give.
And then, you know, I just said that about, you know, I don't care about technique anymore, but of course I do. You know, I loved, for instance, this afternoon seeing 13-year-old Edison Chen start with that Prelude and Fugue, dead on rhythm and a plan for every note, it seems like. And then that Ligeti Etude, which he brought so vividly to life. And, you know, I was captivated by that playing. And then he did a barn burner. He did Mephisto Waltz, and it was just like, okay, well, this kid can pretty much do anything, which can be said of each and every one of them.
Absolutely.
Actually, they've shown us just in 20 minutes just what they are capable of. And that's sort of a tricky thing, I think.
Yes.
When you have just 20 minutes that you want to show the totality of what you can do, that is a tricky thing to try to
And even the
accomplish.
programming and going through like 4 different pieces and 4 different styles in 20 minutes, and also making that switch. It's been fun to watch the competitors mentally prepare for those moments and then launch in and just wow us.
We're just moments away from hearing our first competitor of the evening. He is Sensen Yao, 14 years old, from China. Let's just take a minute, though, and meet Sensen Yao.
我叫姚晨晨，我来自中国，今年14岁。4岁开始学的。就小时候都听到别人弹钢琴，然后就很喜欢弹。刚开始还没考，就4岁，我爸爸妈妈给我找了一个老师，然后我就开始学钢琴。现在每天练8个小时，我就都有看。弹琴的时候可以想到那个小说里面的画面，就是有画面感。
That's 14-year-old Sensen Yao from China. You might have noticed in his little video there, he was playing Prokofiev's first piano sonata, not a work that we hear very often, but you're about to hear it live by Sensen Yao, also works by Bach and Rachmaninoff. Here is 14-year-old Sensen Yao.
And Prokofiev's Sonata No. 1 in F minor, Opus 1. Let's welcome our first performer.
Sensen Yao, 14, from China, giving us a wonderful program. Our next competitor is Stephen Ruochong from the United States. He's 17 years old. Here's a look at Stephen Sui.
My name is Stephen Sui. I'm 17 and I'm from Englewood, New Jersey. The process leading up to a competition, especially immediately leading up to a competition, the kind of work that goes into that, I just think is, first of all, it's very beneficial to, you know, my musical growth as a whole. I think the best experiences I've had, the kind of friendships I formed, the entire experience, and that's one of the most unforgettable months of my entire, I would say my entire life, to be honest.
Stephen Sui, 17 years old, from the United States. Bridget, he was so thoughtful in his interview on Tuesday, and he was telling us about his involvement in student government and in the ethics bowl. Very much like debate, he said, but you're just sort of on the same side in the ethics bowl. Playing a three-composer program for us, the Bach Prelude and Fugue, of course, the G sharp minor, that's a beautiful one, it's a beauty. And two intermezzi from Opus 118 of Johannes Brahms. He's ending with the LISZT Transcendental Etude number 10 in F minor. That's been a popular one. That's our third one of those today. Those Brahms intermezzi show us a different side of somebody, don't you think?
I was so pleased he chose that, actually, for his interview, because you actually get to see that spirit coming out, that inward soul. And so many of the competitors have said in their biographies what they most want here at the Cliburn competition is to be able to share with us their inner world. And I think we can expect that from Stephen.
I think both in those intermezzi, which he was surprised to learn Van Cliburn started a program with those. Started a whole concert with just those two once. And also that G sharp minor Prelude and Fugue, actually, which is just so beautiful and also so inward in a way. And then he'll have that Transcendental Etude to sort of burn the piano up.
As we keep seeing in every single contestant, our last, so blazing, so much elegance, but so much crystalline energy coming off the piano. It was incredible.
And I don't think we've seen anybody today, Bridget, who was having a hard time in their physical relationship with the piano has been pretty on point for all seven so far that we've seen.
I think that's the case. Really incredible to watch and witness.
It really is. And we were talking, this last contestant, Sensen Yao, who was practicing 5 hours a day when he was in the first grade. I can't remember what I was doing in the first grade.
I was roller skating maybe, but yes.
It wasn't practicing that. Okay, Stephen Sui is about to take the stage here at the Cliburn Junior. Here he comes. Brilliant applause greeting the performance of Stephen Sway, 17 from the United States. A very thoughtful program of Bach, Brahms, and Franz Liszt. Stephen Sway from the United States. Our next performer is Jayuk Lim, 16 from South Korea. He has a program of Bach, Liszt, and Frédéric Chopin. Let's take a minute and meet Jayuk Lim.
My name is Jayuk Lim. I'm 16 years old and I'm from South Korea. My favorite pianist, Radulf, Yunchan, Sokolov. 음악적 색깔이 확실해서 그게 더 좋은 것 같아요. 자기 개성이 있어서. 관객들이랑 그냥 음악을 나누는 게 제일 기대되는 것 같아요.
In just a minute, you're going to hear Jayuk Lim play for yourself right here on the Cliburn webcast. But just a minute, though, I want to take a minute to talk to you about something that I find so interesting in programming. He's playing the Chopin F minor Ballade as he was in that clip just now. That's one of those pieces that is so personal that everybody sounds wrong but your own. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yes. And it's just sort of an interesting choice for a competition. I think you have to be very, very convicted of the way you play things. There must be pieces like that in your life as well.
Absolutely. I think it's really a testament to the fact that these kids are not afraid to be vulnerable and to put their whole selves forward as well as being technically demanding. They're marrying these two things in a really beautiful way. So it's not surprising that if he feels convicted about this piece, he will do it.
Courageous thing to do. And Jaeuk is also going to give us the Feux, follets, which is the Transcendental Etude number 5 of Liszt, which is a fearsomely difficult thing to play. It won't, in atmosphere, it is not as thundering as the F minor that we just heard, but in actual fact, it is just so hard to play. You must come to pieces like that yourself. Here is Jayuk Lim, 16 from South Korea. You've been listening to Jayuk Lim, 16 years old from South Korea, in a varied program of Bach, Liszt, and Chopin. It's Bach Prelude and Fugue in E major, the fearsomely difficult Liszt Feux, follets, and finally Chopin's F minor Ballade. Welcome back to the webcast. I'm Buddy Bray.
And I'm your co-host, Bridget Kibbe, where we are broadcasting live at Caruth Auditorium in Dallas, Texas.
While the audience is taking a 20-minute intermission, I thought this would be a good time for us to catch up on what we've just heard. Three more sterling performers.
Incredible
I think,
performers. Definitely have some special moments that stick out to me.
Sensen Yao was
Yes.
the first we heard this evening.
He was very elegant in his Bach, and he had a very blazing charisma in that Chopin and Prokofiev, and felt completely at ease on the piano. It was really fun to see him just blaze across those keys with really crystalline colors, especially in that Rachmaninoff. I thought was beautiful.
And that Prokofiev, again, you know, so interesting to hear an early work like that, and it presented certainly no problems
Absolutely.
for it whatsoever. We followed that with Stephen Sway, 17 years old, from the United States.
Stephen was such a gift to hear. I feel that he's such an artist of incredible depth already at the age of 17. You heard him craft these beautiful soaring lines, and he really played to this specific piano. I felt like he drew out beautiful tone and colors from this specific instrument, and also created these beautifully crafted melodies. It was just very stunning to hear him.
You know, you kept saying that off camera. This,
Yes.
I like this tone. I like this sound
Beautiful.
he's getting. It had a
Yes.
depth. It had a gravity. And I think a lot of that is in how you were trained, and then a lot of it also is what kind of person you are. And he
Yes.
is in talking to him on Tuesday, he had some gravitas about his person. He is a very searching person. He thinks a lot
Absolutely.
about what he's doing. Okay, and then we ended with Jayuk Lim, 16, from South Korea, playing a Bach Prelude and Fugue in E major, which we heard earlier in the
beautifully
day.
crisp.
And then we heard Feux, follets, that
Oh, beautiful
very
shimmering colors. Wow.
difficult
Yes.
Etude. And then the Chopin F minor Ballade. And you see what I mean? It's
Yes,
just one
it's
of those
quintessential.
personal pieces, sort of. It's ineffable. It's hard to gain purchase on a piece
Yes.
like that unless you're playing it yourself.
Yes, and I have to say, I actually really enjoyed Jaeuk entering into his performance in a very vulnerable moment at that Chopin, and putting himself into all the colors and the phrasing in such a magical way. I think we really got a window into him on stage. It was very special. So.
That's what is so special, getting a window into these young performers at an age where some of them are really not afraid to show us
fearless.
who they are. Remember, speaking of performers, you can see a list of all our young competitors, when they're playing and what they're playing, on our website at Cliburn.org.
You can also visit the social media platforms to look and see what they're about outside the piano, but also learn about the repertoire they'll be playing this week, and also support the Cliburn at Cliburn.org.
During intermission, it's a great time for our audience here in Caruth Auditorium to visit the Cliburn gift shop, but you can visit the gift shop as well. Just go to shop.cliburn.org for some brand new items we have this year, or you can scan the QR code on your screen. Coming up in this break, we have an interview with Wu Han, who is a great pianist, a member of the jury this year at the Cliburn Junior, as she was at the Cliburn International Piano Competition just last year. She is also the artistic director, one of the artistic directors of the Chamber Music Society of Lincoln Center. But first, we want to show you inside the piano. Have you ever wondered how one of them works? Take a look under the hood.
So a piano is technically a percussion instrument. It's sort of a chain reaction of striking. When a pianist plays the key, they set in motion a system of levers which eventually catapults a piano hammer. It's just a felt-covered piece of wood that launches towards the strings, strikes the strings, sets them into vibration, and then that sets in motion the wooden soundboard underneath all the strings that creates all this. It's important to prepare the piano because the pianist will be pushing it to its limits and need to be able to rely on it like a race car driver would rely on their car to win a race. It needs to be able to have warmth and also brilliance at fortissimo and a a nice smooth gradient in between those dynamic extremes. And then the strings are held in place by tuning pins. You just wrap it around a steel pin with a hole in it. It's very old world technology.
Welcome back to the webcast. I'm Buddy Bray, your host for this Cliburn Junior. With me is Wu Han in this break. She is one of our distinguished jurors, as in fact she was in the Cliburn International Piano Competition in 2022. We are so happy we could trick you into coming back, and this time to Dallas.
I'm so honored to be asked. You know, Cliburn has always been, had that one of the reputation of being the best organization for pianists.
Well, we try.
You know, 2 years ago when I came here as a real juror, I was so impressed. I was so inspired. And so when Sandra and Jacques come to me and say, would you stop in, because I have a recital in Austin tomorrow, would you stop in and absorb the junior competition? I was just so honored. And I tell you, it really makes a humongous difference to know these young musicians are out there working and be inspired and inspire others. It's
very inspiring to have you here. Of course, for them to see you here and know that you're listening to them. Do you listen? Tell me, do you listen differently in the Cliburn International Piano, the grown-up competition, than you do to 13-year-olds? Are you listening for different things?
Yes, I am. You know, in their age, under age 18, they should be the one out there and soak up every possible atmosphere. They do not have the the pressure of having to decide and mount a career. They don't have the pressure to think about that. Just graduated, I'm in the mid-20s. I need to go out and make a career. I need to pay my mortgage, get a house, get married, and blah, 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 maybe have a kid. In this particular age, you know, teenagers, they're such precious age. They're developing, and I see quite a few of them are sitting in the audience watching others. Oh my God, you should see their faces. It's just so wonderful to see classical music, classical piano music are thriving. And another thing I was totally inspired, even I'm here only for 48 hours, is to see the kids are so sweet to each other.
Yes, they really are.
They're going to the classes, they're supporting each other, they're hugging each other, they're talking about the repertoire. You know, I think this junior competition of Cliburn has created such magical environment.
I think it is. I've long said it's one of the very happiest things that we do at the Cliburn, because these kids, sometimes they are practicing in isolation, but they come here and they find their people.
Exactly.
Here. They find other kids that are just like them, other kids that are also practicing 5 or 6 hours a day. So that's inspiring to be around. They're not the only ones in the world, I find out when they come to a place like this.
I had a 45-minute session with them from 5 to 6 today, and they all showed up. And one thing they did ask is, what do we need to do in our age? And I feel such sense of responsibility to answer that question. What's really important is for them to know they are not alone in this world.
Right.
I remember when I was their age, in order to achieve what you all just have experienced on the webcasting, is this unbelievable amount of devotion, commitment, discipline, imagination of every possible, you know, demand on a young age like that. And I have admiration for all of them to play in that level. It's spectacular. And then on top of it, to come here to see they actually find like-minded people. And then find this loving, unbelievable, inspiring environment. That audience are cheering for them. We are cheering for them. As teachers, we say, go and try it. be the best. And oh my God, I tell
It is, isn't it great? I mean, it's happy for everybody. It's happy for the kids. It's happy for us. It's happy for the audience, and it's happy for the jury. It really couldn't be better. You know, there's something I've always wanted to ask you, and it's how your career developed the way it did, because one doesn't start playing the piano at whatever age you are and think that you're going to grow into what you've become, which is this great, great pianist who has a lot of responsibility to become an artistic director. This is, when did you think that this was something you might want to do, or did you ever? Or did it just happen?
Well, my first artistic director job was offered to me really out of blue. I was driving between the mountain of Italy and Switzerland. Phone call came in the backstage of one of the concerts. I see this message said, "Would you like to be the artistic director of La Jolla Summerfest?" And I remember that night I had to drive through the mountain to go to my next concert. And I suddenly, in that 4 hours drive through the Swiss Alps, I realized I could make a difference, not only going night after night to bring the best music to an audience. I actually can make a difference to either a community or to education, or to bring, to really bring my artistic quest to an artistic director's quest. And it was one of the most inspiring things. Of course, I had to learn it on the way, but it's a privilege to serve music. It's a privilege to be a pianist. It really is a privilege to be able to lead an institution or to contribute to an institution like the Cliburn. You know, what Cliburn has done for classical music is something is immeasurable. I have to just say that in public. As a pianist, I always, always, always admire the Cliburns, what you have done for all the pianists. But then when I come here, what I found is the most nurturing environment. What I found is the complete commitment to artistic excellence. There's absolutely no other agenda except make sure our pianists play great, to give them the support. And of course it's a competition, but so what, right? So we all sort of go for the same quest, that the audience can feel that passion and can feel that devotion, and it's incredibly inspiring.
You know, a lot of that I think is also due to our volunteers. The spirit of volunteerism has been so strong in the history of the Cliburn, and now we're making new friends in Dallas. This is our second time to be in Dallas, you know, and we're cultivating and finding great new volunteers, great new supporters in Dallas, great new partners like the Dallas Symphony Orchestra and Southern Methodist University. It's been this great thing. When do you have time to practice? You are a busy, busy woman.
I was up this morning at 6:30. I usually, my first master class this morning is at 10. Tomorrow I have a huge program to play in Austin. I usually get up 5:30 or 6. At home, I'm on the piano. I also do not take any appointments before 12 noon. So in the morning is the time that I hone my skill. I do the deepest thinking. I try to solve the problem that as artistic directors, and it's a very healthy thing. I learned how to manage my time when I was very young because I was double major and touring and all that. I'm always being a very busy person. But what I found is I had the best job in the world as a pianist. God, you know, I don't know about you guys. I just sat through this couple of concerts today. I'm like, my mouth was drooling. I was opening my iPad and looking at the score and say, oh my God, this is what he did. I can't wait to get back to my piano.
Wow. So at 6:30 this morning, you were at the piano.
I was there. Well, I couldn't make Grace to come earlier to meet me, so I started at 7:30.
Oh, 7:30. Wow. So today you took a little time off. You eased into it today.
I had a 2.5 hours private time, and I have a 2.5 hours rehearsal with David for tomorrow's program.
Wow. It's been such a pleasure to meet David Finkel, your husband, the co-artistic director of Chamber Music Society at Lincoln Center. It's been great to have him here. you hid him from us last year. He didn't come with you. But this year he's with you. It's great.
Well, I went home and raved about the Cliburn, and then he saw what happened to me. I went attacking the piano after I was sitting there for like 3 weeks and itching for the piano. And I went home and I tackled all of my concerto. I put out all my Chopin etudes and LISZT etudes, and I was struggling with it and say, damn it, how come I don't play like the 16 years old?
I think, isn't that is the feeling we all get at a competition like this? It's like, okay, I have to go home and practice. Listening to these 13, 14, and 15-year-olds makes me want to practice.
Yeah, just for a little example today, but I just heard that, the LISZT etudes, all the double notes and on the top and all that, the repeated note, it requires such incredible sort of control of the keyboard. And the Opus 118 of the Brahms that we just heard, is one of the most beautiful things. And I was so super impressed with this young man, age 16, 14, can understand the Opus 118 of Brahms, which is the intermezzo before Brahms, in his old age. There's such depth in that music, and this young man manages so beautifully. And what I'm thinking is, oh my God, if he could play that when he's 16 years old, give him another 20 years. What is this piece going to sound like when he's 36? And it gives me a big smile on my face. My God, and these days we are not lack of talent. I just have to say that, buddy. For all the classical music lover, we're not lack of talent. The control of the keyboard, control of the execution of the facility is higher than my generation. I know that.
Don't you think every generation is a little bit better?
Absolutely.
Right? Because we see that every 4 years at the Cliburn International, they're a little bit better than they were 4 years ago.
Yep.
They were a little bit better. And so generationally, that is certainly the same. I'm glad you share the same optimism for future generations that we do here.
But, buddy, it's our responsibility to create more opportunity for them to perform, for them to bring their passion to the audience. And God bless the Cliburn to among the incredible community in Fort Worth and now incredible community in Dallas. I think I'm just so grateful.
Well, you can come visit us anytime. We're always happy to have you. Woo-Han, thank you so much for being with us in this break. Now you have to go back to work again.
You bet. I can't wait to.
We are going to put you back to work.
Okay. Can't wait.
All right. The Cliburn is not the only fantastic arts organization in this area. We're going to introduce you to another one. They are the Texas Ballet Theater, who are our partners in producing this webcast right now. Take a look at what they do. And we are back with the webcast. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Our next competitor is Taiga Wong, 13, the other 13-year-old in this contest, also from the United States. He has a program with 3 composers on it. He will do a Bach Prelude and Fugue in A major, the LISZT Paganini Etude in A minor and Bridget. That's the one on the famous Paganini theme, famous theme and variations. I've often wondered why it is that composers are so drawn to that particular theme. It's fascinated so many composers.
It's true. I think the melody is so compelling, and there's so much you can do with the harmonic function of it. You can just see the interplay. So I look forward to hearing it.
And there's a little hook in that melody. I think the da 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 da. It's always sort of fascinating to people. He will end with another set of variations. Those are the Mendelssohn variations sérieuses. Taiga Wong is 13, and here's another look at Taiga Wong.
My name is Taiga. I'm 13 years old, and I'm from New York. I wanted to be a musician from the beginning, even though like before I came to Juilliard, I didn't even practice that much yet. It's really from last summer when I really decided to do this. Yeah. What I try to do is because of school and everything. I try to get 3 and 4 hours every day in the school days, and then on the weekends I just try to practice as much as I can. Competitions, they force you to practice. like you feel like you have to practice, and you do end up getting a lot better.
What Taiga Wong did not tell you in that little bio pack is that he is an expert at solving the Rubik's Cube. He's been in Rubik's Cube contests, and I asked him off camera what his personal best was in solving the Rubik's Cube, and it was 11 seconds.
It's incredible.
11
I believe
seconds.
he also started a Rubik's Cube club at school. So he shares his passion, not at the piano only, but the Rubik's Cube.
He's playing basically 2 sets of variations in his program, Bridget.
Yes.
What's the challenge in playing variation sets?
I think there's something that's mentally challenging about switching on a dime so quickly from one stylistic feature to another. But
and we're about to find that out.
Yes.
I'm hearing that we are just going to the
Okay.
stage now. Here is
Do it.
Taiga Wong, 13 from the United States. Here he comes. Taiga Wong, 13 from the United States. Probably exhausted after that program. He gave his all, and I think the audience is responding in kind. We're going to meet our next young competitor, Sukyoung Hong, 15, from South Korea.
I'm Sukyoung Hong, and I'm from South Korea. I'm a sophomore in a high school, and I'm 15 years old. I try to practice at least 4 hours. If I practice a lot, then I go like 10 or even more hours. My mom bought me upright piano when I was like 5, and she taught me actually. I started to compose when I was about 8, and I still compose. My teacher recommended lots of competition, and I specifically chose this one because in the senior competition, the most newest 2 winners are both from South Korea.
Sukyoung Hong, 15 years old from South Korea, is about to take the stage for his preliminary round recital of works by Bach, Franz Liszt, and 2 works by Prokofiev, selections from Étude and the Prokofiev Toccata in D minor. Here's Sukyoung Hong. Welcome back to the webcast. I'm Buddy Bray with Bridget Kibbe, and you know what? Here's the deal about the Prokofiev Toccata. I was just thinking about it because that was such a great performance.
Fabulous.
It's easy to score a big success with that, but only if you play it like that.
Yes.
You can't. There can't be a mediocre performance of it. It
100%.
falls flat.
I believe it.
But when you play it like that,
the dynamics, the clarity, the effortlessness, it was palpable, just beautiful. Amazing.
And we're going to take a look at our next competitor. She is Chihiro Sugawara, 16 from Japan. Let's meet her real quick.
I'm Chihiro Sugawara from Tokyo. I'm 16. 私は3歳の時から始めました。最初はおもちゃのピアノですごい歌いながら弾いてて、母がそれを見てピアノを習わせてくれました。もともとこのクライバーンをすごく知っていて、ジュニアの部門ができた時にこの前回の参加者とかを見て。
And Chihiro Sugawara says in her bio that she hopes to transcend the performances that she has given before, that coming to the Cliburn Junior is sort of an ultimate challenge for her, which I think it is for a lot of these young people.
Yes, especially a lot of them actually competing for the first time in a few years, and coming to the U.S. to compete for the first time.
We got a lot of that on Tuesday. A lot of them, it was their first trip to the U.S., first time competing in 3 years because of COVID. For some of them, it's their first time period to be in a piano competition, and they're on the world stage right now. It's some of their fondest dream is to be here at the Cliburn Junior. Chihiro is no exception to that. She has 3 works on her program, of course, of BACH, Prelude and Fugue, and then she will play music also of Scriabin, his fantasy in B minor. She will end with the Étude-tableau in D major, the very last Étude-tableau by Sergei Rachmaninov. This is Chihiro Sugawara, 16 years old, from Japan. This is her first visit to the United States. We'll take you down to stage now. Chihiro Sugawara bringing this first day of the preliminary round to a close. And I am Buddy Bray, your webcast host for this competition.
And I'm your co-host, Bridget Kibbe.
Let's take a quick look at these last three performers. Bridget, we started tonight with Taiga Wong.
Taiga Wong.
That electric performer, 13 years old. Those Mendelssohn variations, I was thinking, you know, it's such a different experience. A mediated performance is such a different experience. It's, you know, you're hearing it through a monitor, but I was just thinking in the hall, probably he had the audience right here.
He completely had the audience in the palm of his hand. I think the variations were a wonderful choice for him because he had such a variation of articulation on the piano. From piece to piece, I really felt him changing his tone and articulation and lengths of the notes, which was really fun to witness.
Yeah, he was just great. Sukyoung Hong was the next, 15 years old from South Korea. He was the one that played that brilliant PROKOFIEV toccata at the end of his program this evening.
I was really intrigued by this performer because he seemed to have an inward approach to excavating the music, but it was really exciting, like you said, to see him go outward in the PROKOFIEV and just wow the audience.
And then, of course, we ended with Chihiro Sugawara, 16 years old, excuse me, from Japan. Played that Scriabin fantasy that we hear very, very little of. So, anyway.
Beautiful, beautifully poised performance.
All right, remember you can see a list of all the names of our competitors and what they're playing and when they're playing it on Cliburn.org. Just surf on over there for more information about this competition.
You can also vote for your favorite performer. You can vote once per day, once per round. So that's called the Audience Award Vote. So please go to Cliburn.org to check that out as well. You can also go to the social media platforms to read more about the repertoire the performers are performing.
And of course, our thanks to Texas Ballet Theater, who is supporting the webcast at this competition through a generous donation from Ann T. and Robert M. Bass. And you can support all the programs, as Bridget said, by going to Cliburn.org. We'll be back tomorrow for day 2 of the preliminary round. We'll be with you at 2:25 p.m. Central. I'm Buddy Bray.
I'm Bridget Kibbe, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for watching the 2023 edition of the Cliburn International Junior Piano Competition and Festival. Have a good evening.